Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Emotion Ocean Talks. My name is Gabriele Kerber and I'm creating emotions because I'm deeply in love with the oceans. I love the beauty, who doesn't, as well as their complexity. So with emotion I want to show you the beauty, but I also primarily want to explain the complexity, want to explain modern ocean research. But today's first episode of the Ocean Talks, it's all about beauty. I want to take you on a snorkeling trip in the Red Sea. The Red Sea is part of the Indo-Pacific Ocean, connected to it through the Gulf of Aden. Here we have the Red Sea, which naturally has only this one connection to the world's water masses. But humans had to change that. We built the Suez Canal, which connects the Gulf of Suez, part of the Red Sea, with the Mediterranean Sea. The Red Sea is on a higher level than the Mediterranean Sea, so the water flows down to the Mediterranean Sea through this canal. The impact of the canal on the Red Sea is not as high, but it is tremendous on the Mediterranean Sea. So we will be talking about that in another Ocean Talk episode. The Red Sea has no outlet, has only this small connection, and is in a very warm region of the world. So we have very salty, very warm water. And that is perfect for corals. Thus, we have extended coral reefs along the shores and platform reefs somewhere in the middle of the water. The coral reef I want to take you to today is part of the Egyptian shore. It's located here, close to a little town named El-Qisir. So now just lean back, relax, and enjoy the beauty of the coral reef of the Red Sea. Whenever I go snorkeling or diving, I love the abundance of life around me. The flaring and flittering of all those little fish, those basslets and pullers that you can see here, but also bigger fish and other organisms. There are so many animals living in the coral reefs due to two major reasons. One is food, the other is protection. Some of the fish in the coral reef feed on plankton, on all the small stuff that we can't see, which is floating in the water, like bacteria, fungi, fish eggs, microscopic crabs, and algae. Other organisms feed on the corals themselves, on the coral polyps or their symbiotic algae. Or they feed on the algae and sponges and soft corals which are growing on the skeletons of the stone corals. Here you see a broomfile fish feeding on the corals and on algae. The other reason to live in the coral reef is protection, as I said. That's the reason why most of the typical reef fish don't have what we consider the typical fish shape. They are high, they might be long, but reef fish are almost never wide. They're always very thin, plate-shaped, like those different species of butterfly fish. This shape allows them to move between the corals, to move into the crevices, in order to find protection there, but also in order to get to all the delicious food growing in there. Not only butterfly fish have this shape, also surgeonfish, like the orange spine unicorn fish, a young one that we can see here. Unicorn fish belong to the surgeonfish, so called because they have scalpel-sharp spines at the base of their tail. This guy here, the orange spine unicorn fish, they are orange colored. In other cases, they are much harder to see. The Klunzinger wrasse, or Red Sea wrasse, that we can see here, does only live in the Red Sea. It's endemic for this ocean or for this sea. It doesn't exist anywhere else, but here it is very common. And due to its hectical behavior, a little bit difficult to photograph or film. Different than this peacock grouper that we can see here. There are a variety of groupers here in the coral reef of the Red Sea. Most of them are hidden very well. Also an endemic species is the Arabian Picasso triggerfish. The masked puffer is one of many members of the pufferfish, boxfish, and burrfish that exist in the Red Sea. All of them can blow themselves up, increase the size of their body when they feel threatened or annoyed. But actually it does take a lot in order to annoy or threaten one of them. Typical for all the puffer, box and burrfish is this flaring movement of the pectoral fins through which they get their forward movement. The tail fin is only used for steering, as you can observe here with this yellow boxfish. A totally different life is led by the blue-spotted stingray. They feed on the sand, as you can see here, searching for organisms in the water, in the sand. They hide under the sand, they bury themselves, they sleep there. So most of their life actually takes place on and in the sand. Most of the time you can only see them lying somewhere. But they can swim. And sometimes they even leave the sandy ground. It's rare, but you will see. And there it disappears on the reef top. Some reef fish are not only narrow so that they can fit into crevices, but have also extremely long snouts, like this bird wrasse. With the long snout, it can pick food out of little holes and gaps where nobody else can get to. This one here is a female bird wrasse, bigger than the young ones who have the same coloration. But apart from that, hard to say if it's a young or a female, while the males look very different. They have the same shape as you can see here, but their color is a blackish blue. A very peculiar inhabitant of the coral reefs here in the Red Sea are those cornet fish. Most of the time they just hang out somewhere in the blue, means in the open water, a little bit away from the reef, or above corals which are way submerged. These visitors of the coral reefs are also often found way out in the free water. Those are Indian mackerels, which can kind of unhinge their jaws in order to collect everything edible that comes into their way. The sailfin tang also belongs into the family of the surgeonfish, so also this one has this incredibly sharp spine at the base of the tail. Different species of surgeonfish, the sailfish tang, brown surgeonfish, and others, often move like a mob over a coral reef, and they can totally destroy small patches of the reef because they are eating the polyps of the corals. The corals are also eaten by parrotfish, like this swarthy parrotfish. The parrotfish have beak-like structures in their mouth with which they can really scrape off the corals. When you are underwater, when you listen underwater, you can hear them scrape off parts of corals, and they also can destroy complete reefs if there are too many. On the other hand, many of those parrotfish are beautiful. But not only fish live in the coral reefs. Also the big red octopus is at home here. We just often don't see it because of its incredible talent, its incredible skill to camouflage. No camouflage whatsoever have the angelfish. They're just beautiful. They might belong to the most beautiful fish of the coral reefs. This one here is a royal angelfish, which will be up to 20-25 centimeters long. And with that it belongs to the smaller members of the angelfish family. The emperor angelfish can be almost double as big as the royal angelfish. Unfortunately, most of the time they swim much deeper, so as a snorkeler you hardly see them, and if, they're pretty far away. This is also a fish which you see most of the time only when diving, not while snorkeling. Yes, this little worm-like thing is a fish. It's a close relative to the seahorses, and it's called a pipefish. This individuum here is perhaps 10 centimeters long, while this guy, a white-spotted puffer, 30, 40 centimeters. So this one is a big guy. You see this flaring movement of the pectoral fins? The white-spotted puffer is a pufferfish. So it's a close relative to the yellow boxfish and to the masked puffer, which we've seen before. And this one here is the biggest guy of this whole group of puffer, box and burrfish. This is a porcupine fish, which can be up to 70 centimeters long. So that's pretty big. You can see here this little bluish fish close to the mouth of the porcupine fish. It's a cleaner wrasse. It's eating old skin particles and parasites from the other fish. And here we have the pearl toby. This is again an endemic species for the Red Sea. And who wouldn't know this guy? An anemone fish. Though unlike Nemo, this one is specifically to be found only in the Red Sea. It's again endemic. The female of all anemone fish are bigger than the males. So this one is the male. And this is the house. Most likely somewhere in there are also baby anemone fish. The anemone fish always stay close to their specific house, to their anemone. Also this fish here, a chevron butterfly, always stays close at least to a specific species, if not to a specific individual, because they only feed on the mucus and polyps of one specific coral. But there are also fish-shaped fish in the reef, like this one-spot snapper. I hope you enjoyed this little excursion, this little trip into a coral reef, and I hope you come back to see more and learn more about the different species and habitats that you now had a glimpse at. Thank you for watching.